Welcome back to the Wizard's, well, not really the Wizard shop. This is Mrs. Wizard's car. We're actually on our way to Wichita to run some errands. I'm actually taking back the tuxedo that was rented for Hoovie's wedding. That's also the reason why we're not doing some expansive video today. I kind of run out of time this weekend. I'm going to do a quick little video of actually some of the interesting stories and things that go along with running a shop and being a mechanic in a shop. And but back to Tyler's wedding. It was very, very beautiful wedding. It was actually at some points quite emotional. I was very honored to be a groomsman in his wedding, and I was very impressed. It was a very big, beautiful wedding. It was wonderful. But right now, like I said, we're taking the tux back, go back over some of these crazy stories. You guys are going to like some of these stories, and some of you may even relate to some of them. So, oh yeah, I've heard about those types of things happening in shops. So anyways, I'll start off with the first one. I'll have a name for each customer that I've kind of made up. I'm not going to reveal their true names. That wouldn't be very nice, but I kind of made up some names. This one here, I call the person Diesel Debbie. And maybe some of you have actually seen this issue happen or heard of it happening. This didn't actually happen in the shop, but I was out and about, and I stopped at the gas station in town to get some gas, and there was a known customer there filling up their car. It was an Impala, and I actually noticed that she was standing next to the diesel pump. At this particular gas station was a diesel-only pump. So I walked over, and she had the pump wouldn't physically fit into the fuel filler neck because it's too big around. It's a diesel pump. But she was hovering over the hole and starting to fill diesel into her car. And I walked up, hey, hold on a minute here. And she started shaking, and she just about dropped the nozzle. I said, no, I'm not trying to get on to you. I'm not being a jerk. I'm trying to let you know that you just put diesel fuel into your car. I happened to look over it to the pump and noticed she only put like 1/10 of a gallon. It was a very small amount, and I told her I didn't think that was going to harm her car. She would just go ahead and fill it up the rest away with proper gasoline. It'd probably be fine. But I was just really amazed that you can't physically fit the nozzle into the neck, but yet you're still just going to go ahead and spray it into there. It just kind of blew my mind. I was like, wow, this is pretty crazy. So that's the first one. I've got several others to share with you, and we've got quite a little trip to Wichita, so I'll just go ahead and share them with you. Some of them you're going to laugh at. They're going to be like, wow, no way. This customer had brought in an 80s Dodge Ram, and really they didn't want any diagnosis. They just said, I want my water pump replaced. Just go ahead and do it. So I said, okay, no big deal. I brought the Dodge Ram into the shop, and as standard procedure, I kind of did a check over to see if there's any other issues with the truck. And I got on my creeper and got underneath and looked. And as I was inspecting, I saw on the frame, and there were parts of the frame were golf ball sized holes through the frame. You could actually fit through them. I ended up having to reject that job. I called him and said, you're on a potential path to your frame collapsing and running off into the ditch, into a telephone pole or something, some catastrophe happening. And I said, I don't want my hands being the last person that worked on this car. I finally told the guy, I'm not interested in working on this. This car really belongs in the junkyard. The price to fix the frame is going to exceed the value of the vehicle. And he kind of understood and went along his way. He had an early 90s Ford Taurus, and over the course of a couple of years, we'd put quite a bit of money into this car, transmission rebuild, engine work, and finally it got to the point where this time he had a water pump leak, and it would require the timing belt to come off, and quite an expensive job for such a car. And we got to looking at his records and seeing that over the past 2 years, 500 here and 700 there and 200 there, there was $7,000 in repairs on this old car, and it was rusted. I mean, the whole back half of the car had gotten to the point over these 2 years where the rockers were rusted through, and on a unit body vehicle, the body is the frame. We were scared that it was actually going to cave in. The whole body was going to fall apart on him driving down the road. We told him the cost of the repair, and it's going to exceed the value of the vehicle, and really not worth it. And his comment was, I can't afford another car. There's no way, I can't afford another car right now. Or in the past or at any time. It's just not an option, another car. So we pull out all of his receipts and put them across the desk. Over the past 2 years, you've put $7,000 into this car. We really didn't even pay attention. We just did the work for him. So we ran out of room on our SD card on the GoPro camera. We're using our phone now, and apologize for that. And we also apologize for any wind noise. But anyways, to continue on with Junker Jim's story, when we revealed to him that he could have indeed bought a car with the money he spent, he sat down in a chair and he was seething with anger. You could about see the daggers coming out of his eyes, like he was about to just explode on us. We had revealed to him a fact that was irrefutable. And we finally told him, no more. We're done with this car. We're not going to go down this road with you. We're not going to put this money into the car. You'll have to either take it somewhere else or junk the car or whatever. And we have seen, me and Mrs. Wizard have seen him continuing to drive this car around, or seen it around town. In fact, a few days ago, and the bumper is about non-existent. It's completely come apart on him. We're not understanding how he keeps driving that, but anyways, that's the way it ended up on that. It was totally insane. The next one is one I call Wacky Wendy. She had a BMW 745i, and she just purchased it. She just dropped it off. We didn't understand why, and we called her. She said, I smell gas in my car. So I drove it and drove it. I checked it out. I looked at the fuel lines. I looked for any issues that could cause a fuel leak. I didn't find anything. Mrs. Wizard took it out for a long, extensive drive, and still no issues, no gas smell. And upon inspecting the car further, I found we're at the filler door, where you fill with gas, there would look like you could see a stain on the car where she just exploded with gas totally all over the side of the car. We called her about that and said, we know we did see that issue, and she told us, oh yeah, the gas spilled everywhere, all over me and on my shoes and everything. And we were like, okay, do you think that's possibly the gas smell that you had? Oh yeah, that's probably it. You spilled gas on yourself. How could you not figure out that's the gas smell? The next one I have is called Empty Erica. I showed up actually one day to the shop, and there's a white Ford Ranger, like a 95 or so, sitting out there. And after about 2 days had passed, she finally called us and said, hey, I brought my truck there. It won't start. I don't know what the problem is. So we checked it over. Finally, we pushed it in the shop, and I just happened to glance at the fuel gauge. There it is. It's out of gas. So we put gas in it, 5 gallons worth, started right up. No check engine light, no issues. It started probably 15 times after that perfectly. So 3 weeks later, she finally comes and picks up the car. She pays with a credit card and she leaves. And I get a call a week or two later. That card was a fraudulent card. I tried to get a hold of the lady. She kept saying she's going to come in and pay. She never showed up. And I finally just wrote off the deal. And the next one's HIGHBEAMS Hank. That's what I call him, HIGHBEAMS Hank. He brought in a late 90s Ford Taurus as well. I put a fuel filter on it. That's all I did to the car. And a few days later, there's an older gentleman. You know, some of these older people, they try to apply the older ways and older functions of older cars to their newer cars. He came in and he was screaming. I mean, he was just completely out of his head mad. That said that ever since I worked on his car, his high beams quit. And I didn't understand the correlation between a fuel filter and high beams not working. But I decided, you know what, I'll look at it, I'll see, whatever. He was standing there. I said, you do the high beams, you're sitting in the driver's seat, show me that the high beams don't work. And on a Ford, you know, you flip the stalk forward for your high beams. Well, he kept pulling it towards him. He said, look, and he was screaming, it don't work, and it keeps popping back. And I actually got upset with the customer. I said, you're not doing it right. I said, look, and I flipped it forward, and the high beam stayed on, and he just stood there, or sat there actually, and just looked at me like he's about to attack me. And I'm thinking, I only put a fuel filter on. You're mad at me because your high beams don't work, and you're accusing me of doing it. And you've had this car for a while. How have you not known that? Why did that nothing's changed? So anyways, that was a really crazy incident for me. I actually got mad at the guy. I told him not to come back because I can't do work on somebody's car when they have totally uncorrelated issues and blame me for it. I said, no, I'm not interested anymore, guy. Just no, you have to go somewhere else. So next one is Princess Patty. Had a BMW come into the shop. The mother brought it there and said it has an oil leak. You have 3 or 4 days to fix it. And I said, no problem, should be able to fix it. And it was, the oil filter adapter was leaking. They gave me the okay to fix it, so I started taking it apart. And I got a call the next day. The mother says, this is my daughter's car, and she just called me and said, this car will be done today. I will pick it up today. No ands, ifs, or buts. It will be done today. And I explained to her, I said, I thought I had 3 or 4 days to do this. She says, well, my daughter kind of rules the roost in our house. She has made an ultimatum that it will be done today or else. I said, ma'am, I'm just going to have to put it back together and you're going to have to take it as is because there's no way. I won't even have the parts till tomorrow, the next day. She said, well, that's what we'll have to do. They came and paid my half an hour bill for looking at it. I really didn't fix it. They wouldn't allow me to fix it, give me time to fix it. And they took their car leaking oil. You know, how long is it going to be before it runs out of oil and they ruin the motor? I made sure to put that on the ticket. There is an oil leak. Make sure to check the oil. There's a possibility the motor could be ruined if it's run out of oil, to cover myself. Why did they bring it to the shop? They weren't even going to give me enough time to fix it. I just said, you know what? Here's your car back. The last one is really bad, and this one I call Hoarder Harriet. Like a 2005 Tahoe was brought in. She told me there's a vibration on the highway and her rear right window doesn't work. So she parked it outside, she got into another vehicle and left. I went out there with a key to pull the car into the shop, and I sat down and the smell was so bad. I hadn't even looked to see why. I just got out of the car. I almost threw up right there. It was so bad. It was my eyes were watering. And after I recomposed myself, I kind of peeked in there and see what is that? And from the back of the back seats, from the floor to the roof, all the way back to the tailgate, was full of baby diapers, rotten chicken, trash bags. Everything that they were disposed of just got thrown in the back. And I finally had to call her and say, you know what, if you want to clean the car and have it professionally cleaned, bring it back. I'll be able to fix this for you. I'm not interested in working on it until you can get it cleaned up. And I never did hear back from her. I guess she refused to clean it or have it done or whatever. So, you know, that's the way that went. That's the craziest one I've ever seen. I couldn't believe it. These stories that I have are not just, they didn't just happen in the last couple of months. This is over the past probably 15 years. Most of my customers, I really enjoy doing business with them. This is just some of the crazy ones I've had to deal with. I thought I'd share them with you guys. I don't have a whole lot of time this weekend, and I thought you'd get a kick out of hearing about some of that. So anyways, thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button, and we're selling shirts now. You can click on the link below the video. If there's any tools you're interested in that I've been using in the previous videos, check out my Amazon affiliates page, and check all that stuff out, and thanks for watching.